What is Kundalini? What is this serpent force that one hears about? It sounds slightly satanic. After all, if you've read the Bible in Genesis, you know that evil serpent tempted Eve and so forth. Well, okay. We'll come back to that serpent in just a minute. In the classic book on Raja Yoga, Art and Science of Raja Yoga by Swami Kriyananda, the founder of Ananda, he describes Kundalini as the entrenched vitality of our mortal delusion. This is very existential. Existential in that it goes to our very existence. In other words, who am I? What am I doing here in this physical form? Where did I come from? And when I die, where do I go? And so, in short, the Kundalini force represents our soul's commitment to being separate, our soul's commitment to being in human form, or any form, but in human form, in order to assert its will, to achieve its desires, and to maintain its existence separate from the Godhead. Just as Adam and Eve essentially did the same thing. They turned their back on the Garden of Eden because they wanted to go out into the world and to know the world, and to know the world as the world. And this world is filled with dichotomy. It's filled with the opposites, duality. And therefore, to leave the Garden of Eden, the state of grace in which all is one with the Lord, is to want to be like God, who knows all these things, but unlike God, God is untouched by the creation that God has manifested. God has no karma in that manifestation. Problem is we, when we seek fulfillment through this world of opposites, then we may get what we want, but we're going to experience the opposite. And so that's the Kundalini. It's our charter. It's our bylaws. It's our articles of reincarnation, that we want to be here. We want to experience and taste from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We made that choice, and that's what Adam and Eve symbolize. Now the serpent, on the other hand, in the desert of Sinai Desert, Moses, when the Israelites were being bitten by serpents, supposedly, God told them to make a pole of brass and a serpent of brass, and put the serpent of brass on the pole and lift it up. And if anybody got bit, they would be cured. Well, that's a very strange symbol. But what it means is the very serpent of Kundalini, which is our reason for existence, separate existence, is at the same time our Savior, okay? Because it is of God, that consciousness of the soul that has committed itself to form and to duality and to the opposites. When it makes a different decision, like the prodigal son who finally decided that he was going to go home, then when that decision is made, the Kundalini, in effect, gets raised from the bottom of the spine, where it is said to reside in curled up form, tight, if you will, begins to loosen. Every kind thought raises the Kundalini. Every prayer, every devotion, etc., every attempt to expand our consciousness beyond separateness begins to raise Kundalini. Now, because it's existential, it's extremely powerful force. And in mythology, the serpent guards a treasure. That treasure is this force, this power towards either delusion, and that's why Kundalini as a goddess is depicted as feminine, meaning she can tempt us into this world, a little bit like Eve in a way, but she's also like Divine Mother, and she can be our Savior and uplift us, our Redeemer. So the serpent has two faces, essentially. And I won't go into the biblical aspects, but there are biblical aspects that suggest the positive qualities of the serpent. And that was certainly true at the time that all this was written down, somewhere in the last millennia BC era. These stories were written down, Genesis and so forth. That was well understood. The caduceus, I think I said it correctly, the symbol of medical healing, shows two serpents. And those two serpents represent aspects of the astral body that I'm not going to get into right now, but they are related to the Kundalini in the astral body, and so on. So this is a very deep teaching. The good news, however, is that you don't need to put a lot of focus on Kundalini if you are sincere in your efforts to practice yoga for enlightenment purposes. There are many other more useful things to do and focus on, because Kundalini is down at the base. We have a lot of work to do before we can get that base to rise. So we don't make it a central focus on the path of Kriya Yoga here at Ananda. And for a lot of very good reasons, it's better to focus upwards at the spiritual eye, and also upwards in the sense of a more positive focus than on Kundalini, which for most of us would be a negative focus. We have so many other things to overcome before Kundalini can truly rise. Okay, I hope you find that helpful.